It begins on a dark night. Look at this. You're not gonna find another girl like her in a million years.
It's all so magical.
I've never had fun. Starry ride that fast. Someday a boo.
And does it say? Never done it.
I've never had fun. Starry ride that fast. Someday a boo. Do you trust me? Say to me,
Have my life.
wonderful time in my you should salam.
Father, and does it say?
Say to me,
Have my life.
wonderful Jasmine, you should salam.
Father, and does it say?
I'm going to free the genie.
I ran away, and I am not going back. And I am not going back.
You should.
I ran away, and I am not going back.
Let's make some magic!
Husband,
Your father. When did you last?
husband, Jasmine.
Your father.
Husband,
Your father. When did you last?
husband, Jasmine.
Your father. There's this girl. I've never had fun. Starry ride that fast. Someday a boo.
And does it say?
There's no time in my life without you. I've never had fun. Starry ride that fast. Someday a boo.
And does it say? I ran away, and I am not going back. And I am not going back.
You should.
I ran away, and I am not going back. And I am not going back.
Oh my. It's mine. It's death.
Ja hat jetzt getrocknet, der Mettlicht. Ja hat jetzt getrocknet, der Mettlicht.
It's mine. It's death.
It's all so magical. What are you doing?
Just play along.
Husband,
Your father. When did you last?
husband, Jasmine.
Your father.
Husband,
Your father. When did you last?
husband, Jasmine.
Your father. Say to me,
Have my life.
wonderful time in my you should salam.
Father, and does it say?
Say to me,
Have my life.
wonderful time in my you should salam.
Father, and does it say? Never done it.
I've never had fun. Starry ride that fast. Someday a boo.
And does it say? Never done it.
I've never had fun. Starry ride that fast. Someday a boo.
And does it say?
Subject for today.
A little bit of fizzy water, you.
I'm starting to like the slurp.
That's what, yeah, really. That's
it's
very
part of my
creepy.
morning.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, on the show.
On the show.
Yeah.
Oh, come on.
It's actually his ringtone.
Gosh, it's terrible.
It just makes me feel like home.
It's his morning alarm. His wife is like, "God, it's not again." It's better than having Brian Stelter's face on a sun rising every morning. So,
Nothing is better than that. You denigrate someone, you delegitimize them by making a mockery of them. Much like Chaz. Yes. Son of a bitch, it ruined some of our plans, but we'll see what we get to with Chaz.
Yeah.
We'll see what's going on some point here in the next week. I am here. Gerald A is here. I'm going in reverse order. I'm going in a clockwise motion. Usually I go counterclockwise. Audio Wade is here. Tim is replacing Quarter Black Garrett because he's on the road with Brendan and Bryce. And my half-Asian lawyer, Bill Richmond, is here. We have Walt Hayer on the show. Former transgender individual who switched back. He was on the show a long time ago, but then he got banned from YouTube for talking about transitioning children and why he believes it's a bad idea, which naturally was filed as hate speech.
Wow.
Yeah.
He can't even say it.
No, he can't even say it.
I thought he would have like
he
a pass.
He can't even say it. And last time he was on the show, he told me that he cut off Snoopy. He used the word Snoopy, and I never heard the term. And I said, well, so Snoopy means penis, correct? And he said yes. And I said, so you have no penis. And he said, I do not. And that is why he was horribly depressed. And he was advocating that other people don't do that.
Wow.
We are going to be talking about Jimmy Kimmel. We're going to be talking about Muhammad Ali and his son and why they actually are surprisingly American nationalists. And we'll be talking about Mel Gibson. But first, subscribe to Crowder Bits on the YouTube. YouTube now knows that that's actually a monetized channel. We found out. So, couple days maybe. And subscribe to the audio version on Apple Podcasts, Android, of course, live chat at loudwithcutter.com/mugclub. We do an extra hour every day, and we will read your chats a little bit later on at Blaze TV. My question, do you guys think that maybe cancel culture is, what just happened there?
Being canceled, we'll see.
That was what? That was the interior? That was the interior of like the Apple store that's going to be, what was that? It was a white screen. Oh, why do we even just have a white screen?
I don't know. It seems
that
racist.
doesn't bode well for us. Make it, make it a black screen.
Yeah.
You want yellow?
There we
Black
go.
and yellow, black and yellow. We can make it a black and yellow screen.
Wiz Khalifa screen.
There you go.
Make it just, is that Wiz Khalifa? I thought it was
think
T.I.
so. I think it was. It may have been both.
It's T.I., right?
There we go. Given saying
Make
it's
the screen T.I. with an image of Wade slurping. So if it appears accidentally, YouTube, rather than they'll just be horribly confused.
No. I would like the movie poster from Cradle to the Grave with Jet Li and DMX.
Wow.
That would make me happy.
You just want Constantine, okay? We know where you're going with this.
I'm waiting for DMX to voice a Pixar film. Like, ooh. Over the hedge. Sequel. Give it up.
What kind of animal would he be? Would DMX be?
He'd just be an animal.
He would
Yeah, we
just
can't say.
animal.
He would just be an animal.
Yeah.
And they're like, what are you? Are you invertebrate?
Exoskeleton.
Exoskeleton. Arachnid, but not a spider. They're like, oh, thank you very much, and we'd like you to go back to prison. Got asthma, COVID, a parole, and furlough.
It's got to be tough on the voice.
Some kids are going to be like, oh, DMX, okay, boomer. Well, you know what? You're not really welcome in society. You don't appreciate Mel Gibson. Do you think cancel culture is kind of losing its power because now it has to go after everybody? They want to cancel Jesus, Sean King.
All of them.
I think that's just because he's mad that Jesus was more ethnic than him.
It's threatening. It's threatening
Very
a little
true,
bit.
yes.
Yeah.
There could only be one king. Not the son of the king.
His name is Sean.
Sean
Yeah.
King.
Yeah. Sean.
King of the whites, I guess. I don't know.
something.
King of-
It's gotta be
I don't know
white.
what he's king of, Sean King.
I thought
King
he's
of
like
raising
the
money.
eyebrow pencil mustache. Is that him?
Oh, that is. Yeah, that
Uh-huh.
is. He does a nice one of those.
Yeah, he does. He pencils it in like it's an Armenian woman's eyebrows.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, yo, can I have all this threaded? And then I'm all use a pencil. Sharpie, because I don't have time every morning to get ready.
That's a good point.
What, Sean? Listen, I'm just saying, it's more convenient.
Oh, you slipped out of character, Sean.
Son of a bitch. Better go raise money for my 501c3. Let's cancel Jesus. White supremacy. All right, we're getting off the beaten path. Speaking of white supremacy,
A little bit.
Mel Gibson is in the news before we get to Jimmy Kimmel.
no.
Because he... I'm only laughing because this tells you how terrible of a world he must have lived in, where Winona Ryder came out and was talking about being judged for being too Jewish, not being cast, and she claimed that Mel Gibson called her an oven dodger, which is so unbelievably terrible.
Yeah.
It's like
that's-
you wonder if it's just common language among these actual anti-Semites.
Sure,
like you're
yeah,
kind
yeah.
of staring at the reef shelf, and there's this whole world below you of all these other invertebrates, with no coloring.
Yeah,
that
well, he may not have come up with it, is what you're
he
saying.
doesn't seem that
right.
clever.
Yeah.
Sure.
Like he's a great filmmaker, but he doesn't seem like like he would come up with a zinger. Like I wouldn't want Mel Gibson at a roast.
Sure, right. He couldn't be on his feet. He's got to stick to the script.
But that being said, not wanting to be someone who jumps on the cancel bandwagon, I also think, listen, there are two sides to Mel Gibson, and you've heard the voicemails, you've read some of these I guess tweets, you've read some of these stories, but a lot of you don't hear both sides. So we actually have some exclusive. And it could be disturbing to some viewers, though, but we do have an exclusive voicemail, some of the ones that you may not have heard from Mel Gibson.
Hey, sweetheart, I'm going to be late because there's traffic on Sepulveda. I went to Trader Joe's and I got everything on the list except I couldn't get organic raspberries. I know, there's a list of organic fruit and the list of non-organic fruit and which ones are safe. Usually it's one with a peel or like a casing like a watermelon. But I saw the raspberries that were organic. They had fuzz on them. I didn't think you'd like them. You wouldn't want them. You wouldn't love them. I couldn't get the peppermint Trader Joe's. The one with a little toucan on there. It looks very festive. It turns out they're seasonal. So I got you mango. And I hope they're just as enjoyable. I'll be home in 10. And by the way...
What? What just happened? We lost. Well, I think it gets better.
Yeah. It just turns out that's the way he talks all the
Just
time.
not for
Yeah,
the
it's okay.
employment outlook for whoever edited the voicemail.
Well, still very upsetting.
It was still very upsetting.
Yeah.
It was.
That's what matters.
Yeah.
I
We're
feel
all
like
upset.
he's just like running with the groceries. I mean, it sounds like he's breathing so hard. I mean, golly.
He's very intense.
These disposable bags are not COVID-laden!
You sound just like him.
I know. That's what my voice. Notice I don't sound like me today.
Oh, yeah.
Because I had to come in and
Right.
talk with Mel Gibson. Talk Mel Gibson off the cliff.
A little bit. Yeah.
Hey, really quickly, we're going to move on to Jimmy Kimmel and something, but let's go to CNN
Yeah.
before we move on
see.
here. Let's
Check
see
him
what
out.
the guy.
Positivity rate is going up as they test more. John Harwood at the White House. Thanks very much.
All right, let's
just
turn now
shakes
to a
his
brand new ad that you may see soon.
Okay, so this is
targeting
one thing I will say about
President
CNN. Have you
Trump
been watching this morning? They've pivoted back from riots now, which were peaceful protests, all the way back to COVID. And notice that ticker. They should reset it, just like the flu right now.
Yeah.
If you look at flu seasons, when they said there was a really deadly flu season, it typically stops in April. Certainly May. We're into June. They're still counting it. They're going to tally this up as a total. Now, what they're doing is they're criticizing Donald Trump because he said that, listen, the rates are going up because testing is going up. And then he made a joke. I was watching CNN this morning. He made a joke at his rally saying, like, and I told him, stop, could you test less because the rates are going up? And that was tongue-in-cheek. He said he was joking about that, but then they said Donald Trump said he was joking about the rates only going up because testing. That's not what he was joking about.
No.
That being said, here's what I've never seen. Have you ever seen anything like this in your lifetime? I will say, honestly, what they are throwing it goes from impeachment, Russia collusion, to COVID, that it's his fault, to riots and protests, and the economy are his fault, and now back to COVID. I've never seen them. Now they just subpoenaed Bob Barr. You see that? Even though he said he would voluntarily testify after the pandemic.
Right? Yeah.
It's just political theater. They are doing anything, and you can see them setting it up. This is going to go through the fall. This is going to continue through the fall.
There's going to be a recurrence of this.
Honestly, I know the media has always been biased, but have you ever seen it this bad with a sitting president?
It seems so consistently attacking. I mean, you just, every day, if you go through CNN, it's amazing how many new articles they can come up with that the headlines are attacking over and over and over and over again. And whenever you dive down into the facts, you never find them. I will tell you, if you get past like paragraph 8, they'll throw in a different fact or a counter fact or something. They'll say, blah, 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 Twitter user said blah, blah, blah about Trump. He's a negative, horrible person. And then 9 paragraphs later, they'll be like, experts say that Twitter user was on crack while he so we're not sure.
I saw that article.
Blood tests reveal.
And then the Twitter that reads Bob underscore cat goes, actually, it was meth. I don't know what included me in that tweet when I was clearly being tongue-in-cheek.
I mean, where's Snopes when you need him to fact check the drugs of the user? I mean,
that would be a very nice service. But basically, all he's saying is You've got. It would be a fantastic service. It would. It really would. Somebody ought to do that. Yeah,
I'm sticking to this one.
I'm dying on this hill, as Bill would say. No, all he's basically saying is we know there's a ton of other people out there that are infected with this, and when we start testing more, we're going to see that. It was just confirming that, and he's basically saying, well, if you're freaked out right now, I can stop testing a little bit. That'll make you feel better. It's not going to change how many people are infected.
Yeah,
but nobody has any common sense.
There are a couple of things going on. First off, yes, rates are going up because testing is going up. Now, there also could be a component to this where overall transmissions and infections are going up. I think it's a combination of both.
Yeah.
The riots have been going on for, is it 4 weeks or 5 weeks now?
Don't ask me.
The Tulsa rally took place 2 days ago. Yeah. So if there is, by the way, I feel like a dog because someone's watch is reflecting on the wall right there, and I'm just looking like, because I think it's a laser from Antifa.
They're trying to sight you in.
Yeah. But I do think there's probably some of that going on because of the virus. And keep in mind, the Tulsa rally was 1 day. And you want to mock Donald Trump because he was trolled by K-pop fans and it wasn't full because they reserved a bunch of seats. So by your count, even though you were, by the way, congratulations, North Korean, South Korean, sorry. I guess probably some North Koreans for interfering with democracy. Yay! Brian Stelter's thrilled. Good, But you said 6,200 people. Let's compare it with the riots. You're talking about hundreds of thousands of people, millions of people across the country for days on end living in tent cities with no toilets. So I would say, considering the Tulsa rally was 2 days ago, if you are seeing an increase in infections, it might have something to do with the violent riots with people screaming and foaming at the mouth. And they go, many of them are wearing masks. It only takes one to not wear masks.
Exactly,
and I saw hobos taking big, fat, corny dumps in tents who were not wearing masks. So I think that's enough.
It was probably the barbecuing on Memorial Day. It was all those people.
Well,
had to be.
when you notice the coverage is very interesting because, for example, New York Times today, one of their lead stories about coronavirus targets bars and churches and the Trump rally, right? Or any gathering related to Trump, right? But they never talk about the tens of thousands that were in Brooklyn for the museum opening. They don't talk about the protesters. Right. They also just conveniently forget that de Blasio is out there cracking down on Jewish communities who want to gather, as they have historically done, and in their communities, in these very tight-knit communities, but is letting entire areas of bars just meet and mingle in the streets. Right. Getting complete violation, right? And then he gets out there and he wags his finger and he's like, oh, I'm going to do something. And then he's welding shut the doors of parks in Jewish neighborhoods. Right. Yeah. So when the focus...
To be fair, it transfers from sideburn to sideburn contact.
Well, especially if they're curly, right?
Well, I feel like Mel Gibson's calling de Blasio like, are you one of me? Are you with me on this?
Are you with me? Are you cracking down on those curly fry sideburns?
What is wrong with you, Mel?
I don't know, but I'm working on me.
That's always what people say, I'm working on me. Well, you know what? Go ahead, go away and work on you.
Go do that.
Come back when the work is completed.
I think we're just going to find out later, like, that there was some, like, girl when he was in 7th grade that broke up with him and she was Jewish. She wasn't even really Jewish. Yeah. She just said she was Jewish and couldn't date him because she just didn't like him. And then now he's, like, built this whole thing up in his head.
Right.
Her parents said she had to date a Jew. At least that's why she told me. Why didn't she stand up for me? But I will give you one more chance.
I don't want to, Mel.
Oh, sure!
I love how he says it. Give his wife one more chance.
Is this him at 16 years old?
Like, I am extending parlay privileges.
He has any leverage.
Yeah, exactly. After I just called you every bad name in the book.
All right. We're going to go. We'll do the Ram thing afterward because I was very surprised that these guys here had never seen, and we'll do that off air when we'll be on Mug Club only. These guys have never seen Rams fighting Billy Goats. So I was very surprised. So I'm excited about that. But first, Jimmy Kimmel. So they're trying to cancel Jimmy Kimmel once again. Let me kind of rattle off what happened before, and then some things that you may not have seen. Of course, there was this people are offended, the horrible response to the Megan Fox interview, right, where he basically said that he implied that he likes to have sex with 15-year-olds. And then, of course, you remember the blackface that he did with Karl Malone. Right? I think we have that. Those are the things that happened before. Megan Fox, Karl Malone, blackface, and then he decided to take 2 months off this summer. How convenient that must be. By the way, hit the notification bell if you are here on YouTube right now, and hit all notifications because subscriptions don't mean a whole lot.
They do not.
Of course, just check in every day. This show streams in the mornings at 10 a.m. Eastern, and we have clips going up all the time. What you may not have seen, however, and this is the recent one, is his Snoop Dogg parody track that he did a while back, in which so I'm not going to accuse him of black voice, and frankly, let me be really clear, I don't think Jimmy Kimmel should be canceled.
Right.
I understand the hypocrisy, but I don't believe that conservatives want to live by this sword as well, or libertarians or free speech activists, because I also don't think anything that Jimmy Kimmel did was that offensive, other than it not being very funny.
Right.
So this is his parody of the Snoop Dogg track that has gotten people mad.
Fat nigga in a sleigh giving shits away.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I want to be clear in what he said there. Yeah. Wouldn't it be funny if we got banned from YouTube for Jimmy Kimmel saying? And I think Half Asian Bill wanted. It's not a parody actually, because that might be covered. It was actually just he just sounded like Snoop Dogg saying the N-word. So it's not like there was cover where he could be like, "Oh, I was just doing a parody of."
No.
No.
That's actually pretty bad.
You were aching to say it. But here's something else, too, that a lot of people haven't seen. It only has like 75,000 plays on YouTube. I assumed that everyone knew this. You guys hadn't seen this at all before today.
No.
It's kind of like Trudeau, right, where they go out and they're all outraged about blackface. And it's not that they maybe did it once. It's that this was their thing.
Yeah.
Like Hoover dressing in drag.
Yeah.
Kimmel did this quite a bit. Speaking of drag, here's an old sketch of him in blackface, again, as Oprah Winfrey.
My body is my temple. That's why I start every morning with a brisk aerobic workout. But I can't do it alone. Workouts are easier when you have a partner. My workout partner is my maid, Marguerite. Marguerite's soft brown stomach protects my knees and ankles from unnecessary wear and tear.
Not too much longer, mi sopra, okay?
Cállate! That means shut up in Spanish.
So, I mean, like, am I offended? Now, here's the problem: is if I say, "Am I offended?" People say, "Well, white privilege." So I guess I should be. The only thing that really offends me is the feigned offense from Jimmy Kimmel, because these people go out and go, "I can't believe he did blackface." I can't believe that Megyn Kelly said, "Well, you know what? Back in the day, blackface was dressing up as a black character wasn't necessarily considered racist." We wanted to go out as I think she said the Supremes or something. Mm-hmm. She said it was or Diana Ross, whatever it was that she said. Like that. She said, it was meant as a compliment because we looked up to a lot of black women. So that person, Megyn Kelly, gets canceled, not with a golden parachute. It's not exactly the same kind of cancel. Like canceled with whatever, deal. $50 million. Yes.
Where do you sign for that?
But I don't want him to be canceled here. It just is remarkable to me that they go out and attack people when, don't you know the internet is a thing? People will find this.
With that kind of dirt existing on you, you should really just shut up and be silent about all of this stuff.
And it's not like there was any reason for him to have to do that. It's not like they couldn't have had a black woman do it. He wanted to dress up like a woman in Oprah and blackface. Yeah. And I will tell you this, when we started off and I was always dressing up, we didn't have anyone aside from me and two other people working for us, none of whom at that point were women, so to dress up as women. He had an entire staff. That was the man show.
He has no excuse. I don't know, my reaction, Mike, I'm like, oh my gosh, is in current times, knowing that he's going to be roasted for this. It's just, there's just no cover for him. He cannot find a safe place to hide. But I think to your point, is he actually going to be canceled? Do you think he's actually going to have to go away for some of this stuff?
I know. Well, he is away for a little while.
I mean, right now.
Must be nice to take a 2-month break. Especially when you have all these. Just let the executive PR people try and handle it for you. But you might come back to not having a job. So I think he knew that this was back there.
Yeah.
And he said, all right, I'm just going to go away until this blows over. My guess is his response will be, well, this is just a concerted attack from people who want to draw attention away from their actual racism and go back to perpetuating the same exact cancel culture. That's what I think we'll probably see. That's what you see them do often. The real problem in this country is Trump. And then you're and then people who are dumb enough to vote for Joe Biden, and they completely forget about the fact that he was Oprah in blackface, in trans blackface, stomping on a Mexican maid.
Wow, there's just so many levels there.
Everything about that should be offensive to the left. If there's something that should get anybody canceled, it would be that. I don't want Jimmy Kimmel canceled. I want to be as clear as possible. I see conservatives doing it. I get that it's fun, pointing out the hypocrisy. I would like to see Jimmy Kimmel go out and change his views and say, you know what, listen, this has gotten ridiculous. We're trying to hold people to today's standards from things that people had done many, many years ago. And keep in mind, that's not that long ago. In the 90s,
right,
there was no outrage when he did Karl Malone. There was no there was so little outrage that even the people who went back and digging didn't find the Oprah clip. You're probably seeing it for the first time now. There was no outrage when Billy Crystal did Sammy Davis Jr. Not even from Sammy Davis Jr.
Exactly. Well, and it could very well be that Jimmy Kimmel didn't remember that he did this. It didn't register in his mind as being some kind of low light of his career or something.
No, I think he did.
Really? Okay. Yes. Yeah. I mean, what I'm saying is like it may not have stood out because it wasn't.
He's done it so many times.
Sure.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a contender. I mean, the champ is pound for pound and overall world champ. It's going to be Trudeau. It's
got to be Trudeau. There's not.
There is
not
no
even Northam.
I think.
It comes down to severity of the incident of blackface versus frequency.
Right.
So, like, Trudeau's a volume puncher. He's like, where are you going? Where are you going?
Sure.
Blackface, pitter patter. Whereas Northam was just, that Rocky Marciano line up, like, and this is going to be a really rough blackface. You're like, oh, that was a rough one. I don't know if it's any rougher than Oprah Winfrey.
I mean,
I mean that's pretty bad.
I think he might go away from this. I really do. Like, I think if he has to come back in the next couple of months with the Black Lives Movement still going on, if it's still got full steam, I think it's very hard for them to bring him back, especially if these things get plays. I don't know. Are they making the rounds enough?
Here's what I do hope. I hope, and maybe you can clarify. I hope this sets a legal precedent because YouTube and a lot of social media, they've banned people for things they've done off the platform.
Yeah.
Right.
So, for example, we got in trouble for our Socialism is for Figs shirt, which had a fig leaf on the shirt. We had to remove it with the Vox Apocalypse to appease the powers that wasn't even well, it's not on YouTube. It was available in a store. That was linked to. And then you see people like Alex Jones. There are other people who've been in trouble for things that they haven't done on the platform, but off of the platform somewhere else.
Yeah.
Jimmy Kimmel did this at Comedy Central. Right. Well, did they all happen at Comedy Central? Not the album. That wasn't Comedy Central. It would be a third-party producer.
Right.
The point is, though, if you're going to apply the standards here, a guy saying the N-word repeatedly, who's a white guy and doing blackface several times, and he has a huge channel on YouTube and direct support from YouTube and often featured. It's a part of this new sort of multimedia conglomerate that you see between YouTube and NBC and ABC and CBS. They would have to get rid of Kimmel if they're applying their policies equally. So I hope maybe that gives some cover to other people who maybe didn't do blackface or repeatedly yell the N-word, but maybe said, for example, like Walt Hayer, that transitioning children, putting them on hormone blockers, is a bad idea.
Well, there's just folks are going to call this a slippery slope, but we're not talking about a hypothetical slope. We're talking about what clearly has happened from YouTube over the last 3 or 4 years, and that has accelerated over the last 6 months as they listen to the mob that says, we move from one to another and cancel and cancel and cancel and cancel, and we will just listen to the biggest sponsors, or we'll listen to constituents or employees in one particular part of the country and ignore the rest of it, and ignore the fact that the platform was open, and now it has come under scrutiny not only from additional guidelines, but the subjective use of those guidelines to edit content.
Right.
And here, when you look at an example like Kimmel, right, where does
Well, which one? We look at many examples.
Well, many examples. But I would even ask a question, right, saying, if I was to tell a joke about Asians, right? Would a black man be able to tell a joke about a black man? Is that stereotypical? So no, instead we're actually saying that it's okay if a black man says it, but it's not okay if an Indian person says it, or a white person says it, or whatever it may be. Yeah. And what's interesting about that is you were literally judging the content of the statement by the skin color of the person.
And that's really hard to do because you mentioned an Indian, and South Indians, they certainly give Sean King a
There's
run
a
for their money.
whole kaleidoscope of pencil mustaches out there.
They give Idris Elba a run for his money.
Yeah,
Indians can be very, very dark.
Very dark, yes.
Very dark.
Lots of sun.
You ever see beautiful, beautiful dark Indian lady? Wonderful. It's exotic. Okay.
Wow.
Speaking of which, exotic, let's go to, I don't even want to say this isn't a sacred cow cookout because I think a lot of people don't know this about Muhammad Ali.
I didn't.
Can you think of any civil rights celebrity? Now, I don't mean like Jesse Jackson. I don't mean like Martin Luther King or Malcolm X. I'm saying a celebrity or an athlete who has been turned into more of an icon of the civil rights era than Muhammad Ali.
Very few.
Very few. I can't think of many because you're talking about a guy, right, who people remember as a man who sort of dodged the draft and went up to the Supreme Court because he was saying, "Why am I going to go fight a country when my country won't fight for me? Viet Cong ain't done nothing to me." That whole deal. Yeah. So a lot of people remember that. And they remember him having a problem with the United States government, and they hold him up. And a lot of Black Lives Matter and some people with the Muhammad Ali estate have been trying to cash in on Muhammad Ali's name. Here's what's interesting is his actual son, I believe, I think it's Muhammad Ali Jr., if I'm not mistaken.
I don't know.
if I'm not mistaken, let's make sure we have that name right.
Junior.
I'm pretty sure. I know it's Ali Junior, but they have so many names. Sometimes when you have the Nation of Islam and they have their birth name, they have a different name.
Yeah,
it is Ali Junior.
It is Ali Junior. Okay. I thought it was Cassius Junior. What?
I thought it was the sequel.
Yeah, it's like Creed. We need 4 of those. Like, hey, let's take Rocky. Everything that you like about it, the characters, the soundtrack. Yeah, none of it, and we'll call it Creed. Okay, I like that. Yeah, we'll sell it to a more urban demographic. Great. So Muhammad Ali's son, he said that his father would be vehemently against Black Lives Matter. Now, I want to be clear. This isn't a quote taken out of context, because you see this a lot where people take a quote and go, see, and the person says, well, hold on a second, that's not what I meant to say. Yeah. Which actually happened with Muhammad Ali Sr. when people tried to say that he spoke out against Trump, and he went out of his way to correct it. So I want to be clear here. But let's read some of the quotes from Ali Jr. This is from the New York Post. He said...
It's impressive.
Okay, let me preface this. Ali Jr., because what I'm about to read, no doubt would register as white supremacist, alt-right, going in and kicking Antifa with a trash can shield. That's what they would think you are. This is Ali Jr., Muhammad Ali's son. And then we'll get to why you're wrong about Muhammad Ali and why he was actually a conservative and probably hated you using him. So, from New York Post, my father would have said, they ain't nothing but devils. My father said, all lives matter. I don't think you would agree with the Black Lives Matter movement. Ali Jr., a Muslim like his father, said, I think it's racist. It's not just Black Lives Matter, white lives matter, Chinese lives matter, all lives matter. Everybody's life matters.
Huh.
Well, right there, all lives matter, right? That's a white supremacy dog whistle from what we've heard.
Yeah, that's true.
By the way, it's Sean King blowing it. But he's just blowing it at a statue of Jesus because it's like that's not going to take it down.
He's hopeful.
Doesn't matter how much you huff and puff. It's still Jesus, Sean
He's
King.
walking around it, though.
He thinks it's built out of straw.
Oh, it's not.
Then he says, God loves everyone. He never singled anyone out. Killing is wrong no matter who it is. Then when he was asked about the police, specifically, and I won't even get into some of the things that he said about the George Floyd case because I think he goes too far the other way where I don't even necessarily agree with him.
Right, yeah.
But he said, police don't wake up and think, I'm going to kill N-word. I won't say it because I'm not Kimmel, so I don't have the hood pass, apparently.
Right. You're right, yeah.
They don't wake up and think, I'm going to kill an N-word today or kill a white man. He said, they're just trying to make it back home to their family in one piece. Now, this is interesting because this ties into Muhammad Ali before his death, where they tried to say he was anti-Trump. He was actually anti-Islamic terrorist, vehemently so.
Yeah.
So his son said, these people, Black Lives Matter, they're no different from Muslim terrorists. They should all get what they deserve. They're effing up businesses, beating up innocent people in the neighborhood, smashing up police stations and shops. They're terrorists. They're terrorizing the community. I agree with the peaceful protests, but the Antifa, they need to kill everyone in that thing.
You got to be kidding me.
A South Indian is going, wait, I'm sorry, kill everything in that thing? You're calling that group a thing?
Strong views on Antifa there.
But he says Black Lives Matter, reiterating, sorry if this seems a little bit dry, but I think you should know this. Black Lives Matter is not a peaceful protest. Antifa never wanted it peaceful. I would take them all out.
By the way, lest you...
Ali Jr., ladies and gentlemen.
Lest you think this is a guy that grew up in the lap of luxury and privilege. He only gets $1,000 stipend from his dad per month from his estate, right? And grew up on the south side of Chicago, one of the hardest places to grow up and have that opinion.
That's kind of a dick move. Only giving him $1,000.
I know. Their relationship fell apart in the last decade, I guess. So it was kind of bad.
Well, that's what people will try and say. The relationship fell apart. But let me point out here that the apple doesn't fall too far from the tree. You remember the civil rights icon of Muhammad Ali. Well, guess what? People mature and they change. And like all people, they become more conservative as they get older and they have children, they pay taxes, they have skin in the game.
Yeah.
That's what happened with Muhammad Ali. I want to be clear. Muhammad Ali, first off, he moved out to the suburbs because of all the crazy violence that he hated in Chicago, right? And actually showed it to Joe Frazier. And he used to call up Joe Frazier and say some really racist stuff that was actually pretty funny. They were kind of buddies, but not really frenemies. When asked what he thought about Africa, this is after the Rumble in the Jungle Zaire, he said, thank God my granddaddy got on the boat.
Wow.
Now, let me be really clear because you'll say, well, maybe that's not indicative of Muhammad Ali himself being more conservative because we have the quotes from his son, and his son is speaking about his father, and then his son is speaking for himself, and we have Muhammad Ali shifting his views on Africa. He did endorse Ronald Reagan. Now, I know you'll say, well, at that point, he just had to endorse Ronald Reagan because who else was it? Well, he could have endorsed anyone else.
Sure.
But he went out of his way, so you say national politics, he went out of his way to become active in local politics, and the only person he passionately almost campaigned for, but certainly endorsed publicly, vocally, repeatedly. Orrin Hatch, you sons of bitches.
Wow.
Orrin Hatch. That's as white. I mean, white Utah Mormon.
Yowza.
What conversations do you think happened there? I mean, for crying out loud.
It's not a whole lot they're going to be talking about, I don't think.
And then Muhammad Ali had a statement on the Muslim travel ban. I don't know if someone can actually bring this up. I don't think I have it in front of me. But he made a statement on the travel ban. Can we scroll that so I can see it, or can Gerald bring it up really quickly? This is where he said, I don't have the exact quote, but here's the thing. What did happen was he was talking about people in the oh, there we go.
There we go.
Our political leaders should use their position to bring understanding about the religion of Islam and clarify that these misguided murderers have perverted people's lives, views on what Islam really is. So then people came out and said, ooh, this is a shot at Donald Trump across the bow, right, over the travel ban. And they said that he was referring to people, meaning the United. They tried to imply that he was referring to Americans as murderers or people who were taking out terrorists. No. His statement was actually about taking out all of the Islamic terrorists. He went out of his way, by the way, spokesperson, to respond, specifically the Paris shooting, San Bernardino. Muhammad Ali later in his life was crusading against the current state of Islam. And yes, he was still a Muslim, but he said you got to stop with the anti-Jewish speech, you got to stop with the anti-Israel speech, and we need to take out all of these Islamic terrorists who warp the view of what Islam really is. And here's the thing, you may disagree with that if you look to Muhammad, and I've talked about that, but I don't disavow the idea that there are plenty of Muslims who are trying to change the course of religion now and bring it into the modern world, and Muhammad Ali was one of those men. So again, even at the end of his life, when people try to say, Muhammad Ali speaking out against Trump, and now they're trying to say, Muhammad Ali doesn't need your pardon, Donald Trump, right, the estate, because they collect money. Kind of like when we got sued by the Bob Ross estate, and then we realized they had nothing to do with Bob Ross, and the family hated them. But in other words, the easiest thing to do would have been for Muhammad Ali to say nothing. But he endorsed Ronald Reagan. He campaigned for Orrin Hatch. And then when he made a statement about the horrors of Islamic terrorism warping the view of Islam, and he was saying we need to go and take out these murderers, and he saw that the media misquoted him to attribute it to Trump, he went, the easiest thing would have been say nothing. He went out of his way to say, no, not Trump. Wasn't aimed at anyone specifically, certainly not Trump. It was aimed at Islamic terrorists. So Muhammad Ali, who you think you know, is not the man he was for the majority of his life. And he doesn't get the praise for what he did. He doesn't get the praise for what he did afterwards when he became an anti-segregationalist, right? He realized that segregationalism, which is what he believed in when he was younger, right? He didn't believe that black men should be with white women or vice versa. He realized and understood that it was wrong, and he spoke out against it, and he would help people regardless of color. But for some reason, Black Lives Matter want to hang on to this idea and image of a young, angry, and ignorant Ali, which is what he would tell you exactly. Okay, we're going to get to, we're going to go.
Okay.
We'll talk about it because I want to hear what you have to say after. But right now, it's time for everyone on YouTube. Well, first, you should go, of course, join at louderwithcutter.com/mugclub and watch it live at the Blaze TV. We'll take your chats. But for right now, YouTube, you can piss off.